Sarah Palin debuts on The Factor. Let's begin this interview with a phone call you actually made to me, to my house, in late October 2008. We have been trying to get you on The Factor for months. Do you remember that?
I do. Shh, that was part of that going rogue stuff nobody was supposed to know about in the campaign.
So you were going rogue, calling O'Reilly at home. I don't know how you got my home number. But you basically said to me, I want to do this show. But why didn't you do it?
Whatever the logistics were that weren't working out, we ended up not doing the show, unfortunately. But yeah, reaching out to you and to others who I believed would report fairly objectively on the campaign, wanted to talk to you guys.
We couldn't figure it out because obviously The Factor is the biggest cable program with the most people watching. We certainly were fair to you. Would you say we were fair to you?
Very fair.
Okay. So why couldn't we get you, and we had trouble getting Senator McCain on the program? I didn't get it.
The media strategy was a bit perplexing for at least those on the vice presidential side of the ticket, and not really understanding where we were going there with relationships with the media. It was just an indication of maybe some things in our campaign being out of touch with the normal, everyday, average American who wanted to truly connect with the candidates. But I'm very glad to get to be here today.
Okay, but you wanted to be on the program. You wanted to be on The Factor during the campaign. You told me you did, and I believed you. And why would you bother taking time out of your busy schedule to call me if that weren't the case?
It would be fair to the electorate had we reached out and had more of a connection via different media personalities.
Right. It's fair to say that you were over-controlled by the McCain people.
They were the experts. They had run national campaigns before, and of course I had never been a participant in anything larger than a state campaign. So obviously having to put a lot of faith in their strategy and not having a whole lot of say in things like the media rollout.
Should you have said, look, I'm doing O'Reilly, I don't care what you say?
Oh, as you can tell in the book, though, those times that I was more assertive were the times that you know, we were called going rogue, and then that being leaked to the press, which was unfortunate. But at this point, of course, it's water under the bridge, though. There were mistakes being made in the campaign. I made mistakes in the campaign.
Everybody does.
I acknowledge that. And I think more of a concern has been not within the campaign, the mistakes that were made, not being able to react to the circumstances that those mistakes created in a real positive and professional and helpful way for John McCain.
All right, let's talk about the senator. Was he accessible to you? Could you pick up the phone and get him on a phone?
Absolutely. He still is, and I have great respect for him.
Did you tell him, hey, I'm having trouble with some of your people? Did you tell him that?
I never badmouthed any of the operatives. I had faith that Senator McCain was working with those operatives regarding...
Wait. You're frustrated and you're not seeing their vision.
Yeah.
Don't you think you should have gone to the presidential candidate and said, hey, they're mismanaging me, you got to let me loose?
Not necessarily.
No?
Not burdening the candidate who was out there every day putting it on the line for voters to understand what it was that our ticket had to offer, not wanting to burden him with the internal operatives. Absolutely not. I did not want to.
I would have done that.
Well, again, hindsight, but... But no, I think it was obvious to everyone within the campaign that things weren't quite going well.
You guys could have won the election, I think. Well, looking from look, the press was against you. We all know that. Bush had a lot of trouble, and that hurt the Republican ticket. We all know that. But it was close. John McCain, did he ever scold you, by the way, after the Keurick interview and the Gibson interview? Did he call you and say, hey, Sarah, you got to elevate your game?
John McCain was nothing but positive, encouraging, and supportive.
So you never had any contention between you?
Not an ounce of contention,
all right.
No.
The two signature moments that got you in trouble, with all due respect, Governor, were the Gibson interview when he looked down at you with his nose on the glasses on the nose and said...
Do you agree with the Bush doctrine?
When I heard that, I went, what Bush doctrine?
Everybody said, so did I.
In what respect, Charlie?
The Bush... Well, what do you interpret it to be?
His worldview?
No, the Bush doctrine, enunciated September 2002, before the Iraq War.
Do you think that Gibson did that to demean you, to make you look stupid?
Those are the gotcha techniques that some in the, what some people call mainstream, others call now the lamestream media, want to participate in a tactic like that.
But he's
it was
not
just
like
a gotcha.
that. Gibson's not like that.
Had he explained a little bit more the context of the question that he was asking, probably could have answered it.
Now, that was a signature moment there, and it hurt Gibson because a lot of women said, that's not fair. Katie Couric's a different story. Now, Katie Couric asked you an easy question, and you booted it, Governor.
I sure did.
What newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this to stay informed and to understand the world?
I've read most of them, again, with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
Like what one specifically, I'm curious that you...
all of them.
Why did you boot it? I mean, if somebody asks, what do you read? I say I read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. I can reel them off in my sleep. You couldn't do it.
Well, of course I could. Of course I could.
Well,
It's ridiculous to suggest that or to say that I couldn't tell people what I read, because by that point already, though it was relatively early in that multi-segmented interview with Katie Couric, it was quite obvious that it was going to be a bit of an annoying interview with a badgering of the questions. It seemed to me that she didn't know anything about Alaska, about my job as governor, about my accomplishments as a mayor or a governor, my record. And a question like that, though, yeah, I booted it, I screwed up, I should have been more patient and more gracious in my answer. It seemed to me that the question was more along the lines of, do you read? How do you stay in touch with the real world?
So that was your inexperience that led to that exchange with Couric. You were fed up, you were frustrated.
It was my inexperience in having to deal with a badgering, condescending line of questioning. It had no reflection at all on my inexperience in terms of administrative record or accomplishments.
No, it's just handling the media.
Vision for America. Yeah, and you know what? So what? So I wasn't.
It hurt you though.
So I wasn't doing the right thing to ingratiate myself with liberal media personalities to make them like me. So what? I think if most normal Americans were put in the same position that I was there, they'd probably look at her and have that proverbial eye roll and say, "Are you kidding me?
They knew,
are you suggesting that I don't read?"
That led, in my opinion, to the McCain people, Steve Schmidt and the other guys, saying, we can't trust her out there because she booted that. And that's where you lost credibility among them. I understand what you're saying, although Katie Couric, and I spoke to her a couple of days ago, says she wasn't out to get you. Clearly in your book, you feel that Katie Couric was out to get you.
I let the transcript speak for itself, and readers will decide for themselves if she had any kind of bias or non-objective mission there.
You think she was out to get you. It's different than Gibson.
I think that she was out to get, if you will, anyone who didn't believe in her perspective. It's not like she was going to get in there and be, I think, unbiased, objective, and fair.
Interesting.
But it is my bad. It is my mistake, and it was my inexperience in dealing with the media elite in my response, a very annoyed response to a very annoying question.
You're bad.
Well, it's my bad. My mistake.
Love those slang expressions. Now, up next, was the governor surprised by the media attacks after her speech at the Republican convention? Right back with the second part of the Sarah Palin interview.